Just visit the new CalgaryHerald.com with more of everything worth knowing.
Al, the bye week, a chance for John Huffnagel to send his defense a message?
Pretty much, and it was a pretty obvious message. The team ranked last in the CFL against the rush, and the last few games it's really been exposed. I mean, Archie Whitlock, not a great running back up in Edmonton, not great stats anyways, entering the game, and he really tore up the Stamps defense. So obviously changes had to be made, and they signed 3 players with experience during the bye week. Defensive lineman Devon Claybrooks and Jim Davis, along with linebacker Tim Johnson. So, yeah, obvious changes had to be made, and kind of a philosophical thing, too. They were going with young guys. They needed to replace a bunch of guys in the offseason. They don't regret making those moves, but perhaps they overestimated the abilities of the young players to get better in a hurry. So they brought in some instant help, some veteran help, and I think all of them will play a role. Certainly 2 of them will play a role tonight in Toronto.
Tell me about the changes in the secondary.
Well, this has been a secondary that's actually been pretty good in my mind, but they've had 2 rookies who've had their moments of struggling during the season, Devanzo Tate and Ronnie Amati, and it looks like Devanzo Tate is going to sit tonight in Toronto, and John Eubanks, a guy with some NFL experience, will get the start in his spot. He certainly took most of the reps at defensive halfback during the week, so it'll be interesting to see how he pans out in Toronto. You look at the special teams right now, they are 2 special teams tackles away from being a 5-2 football team. They gave up a long return against Weston Dressler in the Saskatchewan game that led to the winning touchdown. They make that tackle like they should have. Saskatchewan doesn't win that ball game. And in Edmonton, Tristan Jackson, 2 long returns within the last 5 minutes of that game. And if they make 2 tackles, if they make even 1 tackle on Tristan Jackson in the Edmonton game, that's a victory as well. So, special teams has been a strength of this team, but at the same time, I mean, they're on the hook for 2 losses as far as I'm concerned. Yes, they weren't the only aspects that cost them those games, but those are pretty glaring tackles that were missed that led to opposing touchdowns. So, yeah, I think the special teams will have to do a job and buckle down in Toronto.
Do you get a sense from the squad that they are 1 or 2 tackles away from a much better record?
They absolutely believe that they're a better football team than 3 and 4. I don't think there's any question about that. And the thing about it is, it's pretty black and white. There's no mysteries involved here with what's gone on. They haven't stopped the run. They missed special teams tackles that cost them a couple games, and they just haven't been consistent in all 3 phases of the game for a 60-minute game. And it's a pretty simple game if you can figure it out. But solving the problems, that's another problem. That's another issue that the Stamps have to address.
Does this send a message to the rest of the squad that where they sit 1 game out of first place isn't good enough?
Well, I think that message would have been sent regardless. Even if they're 6-1, 5-2, it's never good enough. Let's face it, it's professional football, and if they have a chance to upgrade, they will. But yeah, 3 and 4 is not where they projected themselves. Having said that, I mean, this time last year, this was a 4-3 football team, and with some very mixed reviews after 7 games. So not much has changed from that perspective. Having said that, this is a team that has some flaws, and those flaws weren't being exposed quite as badly last season. So, yeah, there's work to do, but still, I still believe that on paper, this is the best team in the West Division of the Canadian Football League.
Are they coming up against the Toronto Argonauts team at the right point in the schedule?
Again, it's a CFL, so you never know. I mean, Toronto hasn't won a game at home in more than a year, close to a year anyways. Cody Pickett is a quarterback right now, good throwing quarterback, but still really an unproven commodity in this league, and the running back Jamal Robertson has his moments. But yeah, I mean, is this a good game to get out of the gate? Probably. I think it's a must-win game from the Stampeders' perspective. I don't think they project going into Toronto and losing. And boy, 3 and 5 at this point in the season, having lost to Toronto at Toronto, I think that'd be a big disappointment.
But knowing they're coming up to a tough grind in the schedule, Edmonton comes quickly twice, right on the heels of this year.
Well, really, when you think about it, I mean, they're done with Winnipeg, and as of this week, as of tonight, they'll be done with Toronto. So the rest of the way, they're playing playoff teams based on the current standing. So yeah, they've got to get a win tonight. I don't think there's any question about that. And like you say, the 2 Edmonton games looming. You got Saskatchewan, you got some BCs, you got some another game in Montreal to look forward to. Yeah, this is going to be a tough grind, and I think this is one of those games that kind of mark mentally as a winnable game, as a must-win game.